Well, to the race to the White House nominations now, where both President Biden and Trump are in Georgia ahead of Tuesday's primary, and it's clear they've well and truly shifted into strategy mode. Biden has released a new ad to mark the informal beginning of his campaign. Have a look.
Look, I'm not a young guy. That's no secret. But here's the deal. I understand how to get things done for the American people. I believe the job of the president is to fight for you, the American people, and that's what I'm doing. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Can we do one more take?
Look, I'm very young, energetic, and handsome. What the hell am I doing this for?
Young, energetic and handsome. Well, Biden, clearly they're trying to address the problems about his age, which is one of the major reasons even Democratic voters don't want to support him again, that he's not up to the job. And this all after his State of the Union address last week, where he again tried to convince everyone that he's not a done deal.
And their legacy inspired me to pursue a career in service. I left the law firm and became a public defender because my city of Wilmington was the only city in America occupied by the National Guard. And I've been told I'm too old. Whether young or old, I've always known what endures. I've known our North Star.
All right, Sky News contributors Kosha Garda joins me now. Kosha, look, clearly, oh, and I see we're matching in blue. We got
the memo.
We did indeed. But clearly Joe Biden is now trying to turn he's got to address his age. It's such an elephant in the room. It's turning people off him. They don't think he's up to it. He's had so many gaffes and disastrous press conferences where he doesn't remember who he's talking about, what he's talking about, which president, which country. And so now he's trying to turn it into a joke. But surely, you know, this is going to take more than just a new advert. Surely the Democrats have to look at other options.
It is, leaning into one's age is cute. And I think the most famous example of that was Ronald Reagan, who famously had said he's not going to let his advanced age be counted against his opponent. That was one of those lines that sort of is remembered even decades later. That's what he's trying to do. But you're quite right, Sharri, that an ad isn't going to cut it. There's so much video footage to the contrary. People can see it. And the polls bear this out right now, where all the polls across the board in the last few weeks that have come out say that something like only 85% of people who voted for Biden in 2020 say they will stick with him because they think he's too old, among other issues. And something like 97% of Trump voters, on the other hand, say they will stick with him, notwithstanding that many in the Republican base don't like him, also think he's old, but they are coming home to him. And you're not quite seeing that trend with Biden. So he is trying to combat that. But there's only so much he can do. The open question, of course, is once the actual election comes around, will Democrats come home, or will enough of them, defect?
Well, unless there's another nominee, unless, the Democrats manage to get him to step back and they find someone who would do better against Trump. But here's something that's been really worrying in the past couple of weeks. The Democrats are preparing to fight laws that require voter ID. So this would potentially enable up to something like 15 million illegal immigrants to vote in the presidential election. And in some swing states, we've seen in the past that just a few thousand votes can decide the outcome of that state. It can decide the outcome of an election. Now, as you're seeing on the screen, Attorney General Merrick Garland has been pushing. He's been playing a key role in pushing for this. So Kosha, doing away with laws that require voter ID could really have an impact on who ends up as president.
Can and many would say has had an impact in the last several elections, because this is a long-standing issue. It's accelerated under Biden with 8 to 10 illegals reportedly having entered the country under his administration. But in general, there's something like 30 million illegals in the U.S. right now. I always point to my Australian friends that that's the entire country. The population of Australia is basically the equivalent of that is illegal in the country. You cannot govern a country in that way. And they show up in the voter rolls because there's no trust. Like, even if it's not happening, most people believe that to some extent it is happening. But even if it's not happening, the appearance of it is very detrimental to trust in the electoral system. And as you pointed out, Sharri, these elections are won and lost on extremely razor-thin margins right now in the US. I remind people that the last election, 2020, was ultimately won by 43,000 votes. That was the margin of victory across the narrowest path in the Electoral College. If 4 states had flipped the other way, that were won by 43,000 votes, you would have had a different outcome. So you look at that thin, razor-thin margin, and all of these issues matter almost more than whether Biden's a candidate or they parachute somebody else in, based on your previous question. It's almost less important than the mechanics of who gets to vote.
Well, look, speaking of illegals, Biden has been forced to apologise for using the term illegal to describe an undocumented immigrant who allegedly murdered a nursing student in Georgia. Why has this become such a big issue?
That was quite stark to a lot of people, that's what he chose to apologize for, and this linguistic cage or box almost that the left side of politics in America has put its leaders in now, that the word illegal is viewed as a pejorative and undocumented is considered better, even though the actual United States Code uses the word alien for somebody who's come in, externally, and illegal is someone who's come in illegally. That's just what the term is. I would also note that Biden himself, who's been in public life for half a century, as well as other prominent Democrats like Harry Reid, who used to be the Senate Majority Leader out of Nevada for many years, are all on record, on camera, using this word many years ago, but the base, the far left base of the Democrat Party has drifted so much in that direction that it's now become almost like a word that you can't speak. And it was very revealing that he felt the need to clean that up after the State of the Union address.
Indeed. All right, Koshigata, thank you very much for your time, and we'll, of course, report back on what happens this week.